Hello, welcome to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I'm just taking a look at all the different places that people are joining us from. I love that about these live events. Minnesota, West Palm Beach, Puerto Escondido. I love that place. Serbia, Maryland, Central Florida, Mazunte. Love that place too. You're close to each other. Atlanta, Georgia, Toronto, West Sussex, Kauai, Hawaii. There's an echo. Okay. I can plug in my headphones too. How wonderful to hear from you all. I will just put in some headphones. All better? Okay. Perfect. Thank you for that. Is it the live feeler? How's that? Good. And Ibiza. Right. Yay. Fantastic. So I thought, okay, we've got Valentine's Day coming up. You know, all of us sit in the Tantra world. We're like, oh, what should we do for Valentine's Day? You know, this big, exciting day. And I thought, actually, there's so much vulnerability around this day. I thought, let's speak into that. We feel there's a kind of like an unspoken pressure, we feel like we have to feel sexy, if we're in partnership, like, okay, we've got to have this big special night and feel in the mood. And, if we're not in partnership, how do we make all of that happen? And chatting with people, and thank you for everyone who filled in the questionnaire as well. It's been just amazing to see and the clients that I'm working with as well, just seeing these same issues that come up that are the real life things. And the real life things are, I'm working all day. When I get home from work, I just don't feel sexy, and then there are things that get in the way, the to-do list or having kids or just sitting working on a laptop all day. It's just not great for the sex drive, is it? So these kind of subjects are coming up again and again. How do I get in the mood? How do I feel like being sexual? There's a lot of people, especially women, I have to say, who share, oh, well, I don't feel like it, but then I say yes because I should, but then I'm not really enjoying it. And then I start resenting it. And then I start kind of like dreading having sex or having intimacy. And that's not where we want to go at all. We want to find the win-win, and we want to find the place where we just love being in our bodies and love sharing intimacy with our partner, but are doing it from a genuine and authentic place. So this is really the topic that we're going into here today, is how do we get there as efficiently as possible? How do we manage to balance like real life stuff with feeling sexy and feeling sensual and feeling like intimacy and having the pleasure that we really want with our loved ones? So this is the topic that we're going to go into. Some of you have already sent in questions, and I've got them here ready to answer. If you are here live and you have questions, then just put them over there in the chat and we can read those out as well. So feel free to add questions as we go. We want this to be interactive. This is for you. So my special guest today is one of Live Tantra's teachers who's been very active on our platform in the last couple of years. She's been sharing really beautiful work for couples. And she's a friend of mine that I have known in the Tantra field for, I don't know, probably a decade or so. We've shown up in many of the same Tantra workshops and festivals and Tantra schools. And I really love that as a teacher, she brings a lot of the understanding of neo-tantra, the kind of more modern, but she's also gone very, very deep into the spiritual tantra and practices. So I'm welcoming here today to join me, Maria Sky. Welcome.
Hello, Shashi. So nice to see you again. Hello, everyone. I'm very excited to be here with all of you and see what wants to come up. Such a sensitive topic, but biggest passion of mine, intimacy and connection. Nothing puts my heart on fire more than talking about this.
Absolutely, and I think that really shows in conversations with you. So thank you for being here. And
yes, good to see you.
I really share this passion with you because I feel like one of the sources of the greatest fulfillment in our life is to share love with others. And, you know, whatever form that is, whether we're in like long term monogamous relationships or we're having love affairs and moving through different lovers, more like traveler vibe, or if we're polyamorous, whatever the vehicle, it's still one of the most fulfilling parts of people's lives. And yet there's so little guidance in it as we are growing up in the real world, right? That's how we ended up in
Right.
Tantra, right? Looking for those answers.
Yes, some
So what,
things we already take for granted and we kind of see it as a pillar, like an obvious thing. But actually, I wish we were studying this at school already, educated from young age that intimacy, connection, presence is such an important quality to develop. But unfortunately, many of us lack in that.
yeah, yeah, it's not so easy, huh? Do you want to start
Yeah.
by, for those that haven't come across you yet, just a little bit about you? Like, how did you get into Tantra? Do you want to share a little bit about your journey?
Oh my gosh, I need to even think about it. That was about really a decade ago. It all started during my Saturn return, I believe. When I was living in London, I was engaged to be married, and on outside everything looked normal, like you could tick all the boxes. But on the inside, there was a hole, emptiness. And slowly but surely, the voice started getting louder and louder, and it started saying that there is something more. I didn't know what was missing and what was my soul longing for, but I knew that something is wrong because no matter what I was doing, partying, drinking alcohol, shopping, I was even engaged. That's supposed to make me happy, but somehow deep inside, I still was very sad and miserable. And universe brought me to Ibiza Tantra Festival, and there, just within 5 days, I discovered another dimensions of connection using those tools and different tantra approaches, and mm, different tantra teachers were sharing fun and deep and very challenging exercises, and suddenly I met myself on that deeper level. I cried for 5 days nonstop, and I knew that there was no way back. There was no way back. Yes, the
Oh,
connection with
that's
myself. That's what my
mm,
soul was longing for.
so
I think that's
beautiful.
where we met.
Yeah, oh, it
Yeah.
has stayed. So
Oh.
beautiful. So today, what I really want to offer to people is, well, first of all, to just have a little look together at, you know, some of the things that our clients, because you're working with tantric couples and so am I, like some of the issues that they have, but then to give some really solid solutions and offerings here today so that ready for a few days when Valentine's Day pops around, people have the opportunity to have a really authentic experience, not
Mhm.
either forcing themselves into something or just feeling, like let down, disappointed, like they just don't feel like Valentine's at all. Some people even resent the day, like
Mhm.
Valentine's. Like, how can we celebrate this day of love genuinely and authentically? So that's my intention for today. And I thought
Mhm.
maybe we could just start by talking a little bit. So I shared a little bit about some of my clients. I mean, I guess it's the same with you, but what kind of things are you finding that couples are struggling with when they're trying to get in the mood, but they can't?
Well, most of society these days live in the head, in the mind. Every decision making is operating from there. So just starting your day and getting ready, driving, using the focus, and then bunch of responsibilities on our shoulders. Some people have children, work, underground. So most of the time, the awareness is in the mind without them even realizing that. If you tell
Right.
them, can you bring your awareness down in the body, many of people, they don't even know what's the difference and what does it mean, because they're so used to thinking, so used to doing, and the art of being is not something very natural for them. Or bringing awareness in your heart or in your body, and to check in, how does the body feel right now. So this
Mhm.
been quite a common thing, and I see that that's the main reason why in relationship when we come back from work. And if you think about connection, it can be a resistance because people don't know how to transit from that state. It takes to many people some time from the mind, um, from the upper body down,
Mhm.
and to simply relax, to relax into present moment. This could be
It's
one thing.
it's so great that you dive straight into that. I totally agree with that. That it's also something you don't realize. Like before I got into tantra and embodied sexuality, I was an academic. I was at Oxford University, and the
Yeah.
whole world, the whole reality was mind based, was mind driven. I didn't enjoy
Hmm.
sex at all at university, and people find that hard to believe because I absolutely love intimacy now, and I so much pleasure in my body. But I did not start like that. I was like in this academic world. And so when I was with boyfriends, like it was just we were all in the mind. So even sex was in the mind. A lot of people don't sort of even realize this, but like
Hmm.
a lot of sexuality is fantasy driven, porn driven, imagination driven.
Yeah.
And it's not like I want to demonize that, but like it's just 100% mental. And yet
Mm.
pleasure lies here in the body. And so
Right.
I'd say that you've just hit the nail on the head, that like one of the biggest issues that we have in modern society is is being in the mind and not even realizing there's anywhere else to be, not even understanding what it is to drop energy to the heart and into the body. So
Right.
I think that's probably like the biggest thing of all. And without making anyone wrong, like if anyone's watching this and they're like, oh my God, that's totally me, like where else could I be? That we shouldn't make ourselves wrong for that, because that's what society gives us. And now even more so because there are these little devices. People
Mm.
are in the whole
Yeah.
time. Like we used to daydream and look out at the trees sometimes, but now it's even worse than it used to be.
Right. And mind there to serve us, not to be the slave of it. We can use the mind to choose where we want to place awareness, right? Because energy goes where the intention goes, where the awareness goes. But when the mind starts running the show, that's where real split happens between heart and mind, and
Mhm.
also sex and mind.
So actually, this is where if meditation fits in to having a better love life. Like people often don't think of meditation being sexy. It's not inherently sexy in itself, but that as a practice in daily life, it can really help us to have a bit more lucidity, a bit more awareness about where our attention is going, right?
Totally.
I know
Yes.
that you're a big fan of meditation, and like people always join tantra for the juicy stuff, and there is a lot of juicy stuff, but I think it's
Mm.
essential. Just sitting and watching the breath, just sitting and meditating is included, even for 5 or 10 minutes every day.
Right. Well, the how I see, I always remind to all the students that in Tantra we, of course, we work in the sexual energy and we activate that life force from lower chakras, but the intention is to rise it up to the heart while we still human beings and we want to be better beings in general, or ultimately even to the crown, so we can experience this alternate states of consciousness, and we need the fuel for that. So that's where meditation, that's where tantra becomes a meditation practice, that's where lovemaking becomes meditation practice, or any practice that activates sexual energy and give us this potential to move it, to rise the energy up, so we can experience unity.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, you're jumping very far there. Let's let's go through a few more, and then we'll get to there. But let's go through a
Yes.
few more of like the everyday struggles that people have. So, like being in the mind, being posed in
Hmm.
the mind is, I'd
Another
say,
thing can be that women and men as well can feel just not very sexy in their bodies, or not very comfortable in their bodies, disconnected from their bodies, right?
mhm. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's a really big one, and we have so many pressures from society to look a certain way, and then people are kind of like objectifying even their own bodies and judging
Mm.
them and thinking that we need to look a certain way to have pleasure, which absolutely is not true. I've always found it
Yes.
really inspiring in the tantra world to see people of all ages and body sizes and health levels or whatever having immense pleasure when they release the shame
Right.
around the body, right? It's a shame
Right.
healing thing that actually society really messes us up in that way of like sexy has to look a certain way. But as soon
Mm-hmm.
as people who are like enjoying their body, enjoying their sexuality, there's an amazing tantra teacher around in our field in her 70s, and she's so juicy and radiant, having so much fun and
Mm-hmm.
so much pleasure. And it's like, yeah, this is what we need to see, not this idea, that. And often when you see like the kind of like supermodel, like fake breasts, like this perfect look, we're seeing women that look like they have no pleasure in them. They're just like walking
Mm.
with,
Disconnected. See.
yeah, connected and like looking kind of perfect, but you also see there's no life force energy running through them. And so
Right.
like society is showing us exact opposite of the truth when it comes to pleasure.
Yes, it's ultimately coming to the being comfortable with yourself, with your own body, loving yourself, accepting yourself fully, and being able to relax, not just to be tense. And for energy to move through the body, you have to master. That is a very, ironically, very natural state for our being to be fully relaxed, so energy can move. But due to different life events, traumas, lots of energy gets stagnated in the body because people don't experience comfort in their own body or have some judgments around it. So that all these things, they create micro contractions, and then energy doesn't flow. So
Mm,
this is coming to the deep relaxation and self-acceptance that of course requires completely overcoming the shame. Yeah,
yeah. Oh,
transmuting the shame.
I'm so glad you speak into this one of body shame. And men have it too. Men are increasingly having it too. Like it used to be
Yeah.
much more female domain, right? That we were told that we had to look a certain way. But actually now men are also getting similar pressure. It's like you got to go to the gym and you got to do this, you got to do, like there's also pressure there.
Mm.
And it so gets in the way of pleasure. And I just remember, I remember when I was at school, when I was at high school and I was about 17, all of us girls were so self-obsessed. We're like, are we wearing the right dress? Have we got the
Mm.
right makeup? We were spending
Mm.
hours dressing. And there was this one, like, always had a boyfriend. She was always having fun, and she always wore like her tracksuit, and she never and she just wore a tracksuit, but she just so was comfortable in herself. She
Hmm.
just, for a reason, her parents must have raised her really well. She just was really comfortable with herself, and she always had a boyfriend. I remember she was like my earliest teacher of like
Mm.
her realizing she's just enjoying life. Like
Right.
we are all, oh my God, is this okay? Is that okay? Is the lipstick? Is the hair? Is is whatever, whatever. And here is this
Hmm.
girl who wore like her tracksuit every day, but was having lots of fun and lots of boyfriends. She was my
Yeah.
person. Know it.
Yes, that kind of confidence that comes from naturalness, from embodiment, from knowing who you are. Yes,
Mm,
that's very attractive. That's the real sexy thing.
yeah. And like you
Yeah.
say, like when we're contracted and not relaxed, then life force doesn't flow. And of course, life force is
Hmm.
so like the aliveness, is
Hmm.
beautiful than like the perfect plastic look that's like not really moving any energy versus an imperfect woman or man that's got life force energy flowing through them. And so that's also really
Hmm.
for us to counteract the unhealthy media messages that we've had. Yeah.
Yes, all the
So
numbing programming to disconnect you from you, and then how can you connect to another if you're not even connected to your own self?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got being in the mind and body shame. Any others, and then we can go through some solutions. Any other things your clients?
Uh, yes, maybe some resentment between couples when they longing for this intimacy, and it's been a while already. It's been many weeks, months, I don't know, prolonged period of time when the needs were not met, needs of being seen, needs of being heard. So this resentment can create the separation, create the blockage and
Mm-hmm.
resistance to even go there, to even try, to even make a first step to connect. I'd rather just, turn on TV or bring you flowers, and it can be very beautiful gesture to express your love through gift, but very often it's kind of like a compensation for not really showing up for the real deal, and then it covered up with flowers and chocolates or something
Mm-hmm.
else. This is
Mm-hmm.
what comes also to my mind.
Yeah. And
And it's very
sometimes,
sad and lonely place to be. Both can be equally longing to connect, and yet day by day goes by, and yeah, the gap is just growing bigger and bigger.
yeah, I come across this one a lot with clients. And of course, often, but not always, it's the woman that appears to be losing interest. And yet something
Mm,
that we see in the Tantra world is that when women's bodies are touched in the right way and held in the right way, women actually end up
mhm.
with a higher sex drive than men. Like in the Tantra world, it's the other way around, right? We see all these really sexual women that can't get enough, and the men are like, okay, I'm
Yes.
kind
Yeah,
of in that
so
there
funny.
in the matrix. The other way around, we really have this message: oh, all men want sex, and women just endure it and put up with it. But in the Tantra world, we see no way. When women's bodies are properly awakened, we're
Hmm.
unstoppable, unquenchable.
Yes.
So love it. So
Yeah, and what I
topic that we
learned
get.
in uh-huh. What I also learned in Tantra world that the energy flows a little bit different between men and women. So for women, we need to have open heart in order to go into sexuality. And for that, we need to feel safe. And every woman has different needs to feel safe. While for men, it often goes the other way around. They have sexual arousal, and that energy moves, sublimates up, and opens the heart. So this is why very often women resent and kind of little closed down. They're not available for sexuality anymore with their partners.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, this is really important. The polarity that we learn in Tantra, that men's yang is their sex, so they penetrate the world from their sex. And we, of course, are more yang up here. Women have breasts, and we penetrate the world from our hearts. And so we have a gift for each other, but we can also violate each other. So, like, women can feel like, oh, he just wants sex, and men can feel like, oh, she's over emotional. She just wants communication and emotions and vulnerability.
Mm,
But that actually, if we can turn that into a gift, then we
yes,
see, okay, how do I open my heart to my woman? How do I open my yoni to my man? How can I, also the other way around, like how as a woman can I make it safe for my man to feel vulnerable, and how as a man
hmm,
can I make it safe for my woman to feel sexual? And when we begin
right.
to understand that this is an exchange, that there's different polarity, then we can really change the whole thing around. I think expecting our partner to operate the same way as us is a huge mistake, because we usually
Yes,
attract, with the same gender, even the same gender couples, we usually attract an opposite polarity.
opposite. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
So,
the answer, all all they need is just a container to be together, to share, to to be present with each other. And very often in busy day-to-day life, we forget to even pause and connect, not only to create that container for ourselves with ourselves, as we earlier said, to bring awareness in the heart and the body, in the yoni, in the belly, but to pause and connect with each other, to have that little moment of reconnection and
mm,
to share eye gaze.
mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
so let's talk about some of the solutions. Let's go deeper into that, because I really wanted for
Hmm.
people watching here today to have something they can take home and use in their lives, not just on Valentine's, but all the time. Every day should be Lover's
Yes,
Day, right?
exactly. Yes.
So I've got them written down here, the things you went through. Let's go through them one by one. So first of all, the mind. What tools, or tool can you offer people today for that moment you come home, let's say from work? That's always like, I notice like 5, 6 o'clock, whatever time you like close the
Hmm.
laptop. It's like, I always feel like the mind's like a hamster wheel. The hamster gets off and the wheel is still going. The mind is like
Yeah.
that. You close, like,
Right.
send this email and do this to-do list. Oh, I haven't done the accounting. It's still going. And that's a major block. So what do you recommend for a couple or an individual, or both? Maybe we can look at both for getting out of the mind and into the heart and body.
Right. We just need to stop. We need to pause. We choose to get together, maybe sit in front of each other if it's a couple, and just fully arrive all parts of yourself, all the parts that were at work, at public transport, plans about future, something that happened today in the past, just to gather all those parts back into here and now. And for that, we can either share a moment and close the eyes and sit together holding hands, or we can open the eyes and our favorite eye gazing. That's the ritual with which every tantric practice starts. It's so simple but yet so powerful, just to become present for each other and for ourselves, ultimately to sit and share art of being, share the present moment, and to calm down the breath, maybe synchronize breath together, and simply rest in that present moment. This is so simple, but nervous system will relax, mind will calm down. It's a meditation that is shared between two, either with eyes open or with eyes closed. So
Yeah, no,
slowing down and coming here.
scientifically now there are psychology studies that show that when you eye gaze for, I think, more than 3 minutes and up to 10 minutes, there are neurological changes and shifts in the nervous system. So although it's been done in Tantra for a long time, now science is saying, yeah, there is actually a big shift. Now, a lot of
Yeah.
people who aren't into Tantra yet, they feel that sounds very awkward. I mean, I have to say, especially when I work with couples, I notice the men in particular. Sorry, guys, but I just have noticed that there's like, oh, it feels silly, like there's this silliness thing. Maybe we can talk a little bit about transitions, because I know you're really great with things like bathing, like rituals, like bathing rituals, and making a transition before even the eye gazing. So maybe we could talk about those, and then also about the internal state that we can move into to
Right.
get this like feeling
Right. So
authenticity.
before we even come to sit together, then maybe we can use the power of aqua sagrada, the power of sacred waters. Let's say we take a shower. And what is ritual? Ritual is when there is intention, when everything done slowly, so your awareness is there with every movement. So you can go and take a shower and you can make a prayer intention for the water, the sacred waters, wash away from your aura, from your field, everything that you picked up and collected for today, all the mental projections, energies from the public transport, maybe there were some touches, handshakes, hugs, to basically come back to purity, to let go back to Mother Earth, Mother Water, and to become available for your connection.
I
Both
really
can do that.
I really, really love this one. I'm so glad that you mentioned it. And I know you have beautiful video on this, so I hope we can offer that to the people who are tuned in here today. If you're
Yeah.
open for a free gift for Valentine's, because I notice that I remember getting taught this in Tantra and thinking, okay, well, it's nice shower before lovemaking or whatever, but it's like, this is not about hygiene. Or it's about energetic hygiene. It is about hygiene, but it's about energetic hygiene, and realizing how much we're picking up on different energies and stress. And there's like static in our energy field. And shower intentionally and feel like, I'm washing off that day's stress and washing off all these energies. It's completely different from just thinking of a shower in a physical way. And you can really intentionally let go and wash off the stresses and wash off the, and when that's done, like you say, as a ritual instead of just as a practical thing, it can look the same, but it's just the intention. And then when you step out and you come to meet your partner, and then you can, of course, put on a beautiful kimono or a sarong. And there's already this sense of like, now my day is finished and my evening with you begins, and I come afresh, clean. And that's so much of that transition, I feel, is by doing it consciously. And too many
Yeah.
people skip that because we do everything in a hurry, and they're like, get home from work, have something to eat, okay, let's be sexy. And it's like, it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
It's too much stress and static in your field, and it's
Right.
hard to connect because we're both buzzing and, you know, not fully present here.
Yeah. So we're making space for
Yeah.
energy of pleasure, connection to rise. We need to make space. And this, exactly what you just shared, will create space for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, can you talk a
Mm-hmm.
bit about the physical space? You know, like, this is a big thing, huh? The feng shui of intimacy. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe tips for couples, anyone who's watching this is new to Tantra, maybe you could just tell them a little bit about, like, and I know you have big videos on this, but like a little nutshell of how to consciously create space
Create
for
an altar. Well, everybody can take it as far as they wish. It can be a ritual on its own, but just to touch upon a few simple things, we can just use our senses as a guides and bring up one thing for each sense that is matching to your taste or your mood for today. Let's say, yeah, you just treat your bedroom like a temple. You bring
Mhm.
beautiful objects that is pleasant to look at the eyes. You take care of a smell. You pick your favorite smell. Maybe it's essential oils, diffuser, or maybe it's aroma sticks. And you, again, you don't do it from the place of doing, like brushing teeth, taking shower, tack, 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 get things done. You really recognize sacredness behind every single movement. You breathe in with every single movement. I love preparing my space. I love taking time just for myself, even if I don't have any intimate encounter, just to take time and to be present with each sense and give it a space, bring beautiful light, candlelight. Something
Mm.
like that can be as simple as this, or you can take it much further, really build your altar, and yeah, the sky is your limit. What you, how you're gonna express your creativity there.
And I think,
So
you know, for those who are new to
mhm,
Tantra and sacred sexuality, the idea of an altar and intimacy can seem a bit odd, like for those who are into Tantra, not at all. But I found that to be one of the most healing things, because when I grew up, you had to choose between being spiritual or being sexual. Like, if you were sexual, you're basically
mm,
a good spiritual person. And if you were spiritual, you had to give up everything sexual. So I saw monks
right,
and nuns, whether it was Buddhist, Christian, you know,
mm,
pious,
split,
celibate people being spiritual, and those who were sexual were just simply not. And so for
mm,
me to bring intimacy and self-pleasure in front of an altar, which can have whatever it is meaningful to people on it, like you say, it could just be a candle, could be simple, it might be pictures of divine beings or gurus or
deity,
whatever, but just creating an altar and bringing the body in front of the altar, or, you know, bringing your intimacy, is it starts rewriting a new message that yes, you can be in the body, and this can be a sacred and sexual experience together. So I think this,
exactly.
I also just want to highlight, you mentioned it really briefly, but I want to highlight it, that you just pointed out that these two practices can be done solo as well as a couple. And I think that's
Yes.
really important, that we don't only go to great efforts when we have a partner, because we need to get into the frequency if we want to attract a tantric partner. Many people write to me, oh, I'm into tantra, but I need a partner. It
Mm,
starts with the way you self-pleasure. And if you're still self-pleasuring, you know, in a hurry with some porn under the covers as quickly as possible, that's the
hmm.
resonance of the lover you're going to draw in. Whereas
Yes.
you do the shower for yourself and you cleanse off your day and you anoint your body with oils, and then you create a beautiful altar and you massage your body in front of your altar, and you raise your sexual energy,
Mm,
offering to the divine, and you do your solo practice with us. You
hmm.
can even gazing in a mirror and just like see the divine in yourself. You can do all tantric practices alone as well as with a partner. And this is so important because it's so disempowering to say, oh, I want to do tantra, but I'm waiting for a partner. It's like, there's no need to wait.
Mm,
You are a
right.
partner. And if you
You.
practice with yourself first, then you're going to be at the resonance and frequency to draw in a partner who's at that level too. So this is, I just want to highlight, you mentioned it and I'm like, let's highlight that
Yeah,
point. There are
this
people
is
who'll be
very important.
today, and we shouldn't be feeling sorry for ourselves and watching Netflix that we're on our own. We should be like, yes, I have a date tonight. Lucky me.
Yes. And in Tantra, we all know that we embody both, no matter what body we chosen for this life, maybe female body or male body, but we have feminine and masculine. And you can even experiment with two different sides, right hand and left hand. Like when I self-pleasure with the left hand, I connect to my feminine energy and I touch myself from the feminine place. But maybe my right hand will bring totally different energy to that touch. So
Yeah,
this is something to experiment. There's so much. Yeah, we have it all. We are complete. The
I
sacred
love
union is within.
I love that. We can be bisexual even when we're completely solar.
Yes. Yes.
And
Totally.
it's totally true. There's so much, and also if we don't explore on our own at these depths, we have nothing to offer to a partner, and we're kind of waiting to be rescued. I mean, I had that when I was in my early 20s when I first heard about tantra. I just wanted to be rescued by a tantric man. That's really
Hmm.
a place to come from. And then I went away and studied romantic cheer, and I learned jade egg, and I learned breast massage, and I realized I have so many gifts to bring to my partners. They have
Hmm.
gifts for me, and I have gifts for them. And learning tantra massage, learning how to touch, learning, just I think it's a crime that we're not taught more intimacy in our mainstream education, because it's such a big part of life. And
Yes.
it's like playing an instrument. We're given this beautiful musical instrument and we are not given a single music lesson. And we fumble
Yes.
around, you know so yeah, super
Mhm.
important for us to have all of these
Yeah.
tools.
And
Yeah,
when we know how we like to be touched and what we like in our solo practices, then we can guide our partner in there.
exactly. And it's something the women especially can tend to do, but men too, but is to wait for our partner to do everything. And it puts a
Hmm.
lot of burden on the partner, right? And if we can, it's so lovely when you have these conversations, you say, what do you like? And when you're in the tantra world, someone goes, well, I really love when I'm like licked from here to here, and then this is like bit and pulled, and then I adore it when someone does this to me and then does this with my breast, and like there's this detail of knowledge that
Hmm.
people have
Yeah.
just, and that's so important. Otherwise we go along with whatever's being done or whatever we saw in Hollywood or
Hmm.
porn, which is all fake, and doesn't usually
Yeah.
work.
Right.
What about
Yes.
body shame? I mean, I can see that doing a self-pleasure ritual like this can really heal body shame. What about between couples? Is there anything that a couple can do to, if you come to your
Mm.
partner, oh, I've never liked the shape of my breasts. What could a partner do? Have you got
Mm.
a ritual or practice there?
Yes, what comes to my mind immediately is to just remind each other the divinity, the sacredness of every single part of our being. And
Mhm.
something like yoni worshipping or lingam worshipping or whole body worshipping ritual can really be very healing, actually. To be gazed at not like an object of desire, but like an altar, like a temple.
Wow.
Can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can hear you frozen, but your words are
Yeah.
coming.
Yes, just to be gazed with that energy because it's so powerful to transmit love in presence and admiration. I was
Mhm.
just reading Mary Magdalene manuscript book, and she always says that it's safety and admiration, being adored, adoration. That's what creates the foundation for the alchemy to arise. If women or men, the same, doesn't matter, don't feel adored, there will
Mhm.
be micro contraction that would not allow the energy to flow. So
Mm,
to adore each other, we need to practice this worshiping rituals. Yeah, and
I
it can be taken to some precise, like yoni lingam worshiping. It's just a precise area, or you stand in front of each other and go one by one. Take your time, do it very slowly, and you go millimeter by millimeter the entire body, and you just cover it with loving gaze. It's so beautiful. There will be no shame left after such a high vibration.
Yes, I love that so much. I
Yeah.
love that so much. So this is a
And
beautiful
again, we can do it to ourselves, with ourselves in the mirror too.
thing. This one I find, yes, and I found that in my healing, it's great to do it alone in the mirror, but there's something so deeply healing when a partner or another woman, group of women, do
Hmm.
this, because we're
Yeah,
so taught that someone else is judging us and judging our body, and like you say, to be worshipped, whether that's just with a gaze or whether flowers or oils are
yeah,
anointed on your body, just anything that's kind of like around worshiping and
yeah,
adoring, it just starts undoing all that armor that's been built up of like, I'm not good enough, and
yeah.
it's it's the greatest foreplay ever. This would be a great
Yeah.
one for people, for couples to do on Valentine's Day, right? Is to like
Exactly.
people to
That would
stay,
be
shower and cleanse their
beautiful.
bodies, and one by one as well. You don't do it at the same time, so you fully have one being seen and
Mm-hmm.
worshipped, and then exchange. It's an incredible
Mm-hmm.
ritual to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes,
this one.
yes.
And then one more, resentment between couples. So you did go a little bit into this at the time, actually, about
Mm-hmm.
eye gazing and showing up. And is there anything else for healing resentment between couples that springs to mind?
Actually, very nice bridge from the previous topic and this one. When we are worshipped, resentments are washing away. It's
Ah,
something
yeah.
beautiful is happening. Yes, we're letting go all the old stories because how with energy it works, like John Hawkins, my teacher, always teaches, the reality is the latest experience. So if there was some negative experience, usually we have to cover it up, not cover it up, but in our consciousness, it have to be on the surface, the positive experience. And if the worshiping um, state was your latest experience in your nervous system, in your heart, in your yoni, in your body, then the old ones just simply chopping away. Yes,
Yes, yes, and
we
yeah.
create new reality, and the past disappears.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And in my couples retreats, I've sometimes have couples who've been together 30 or 40 years and they haven't done tantra
Mm,
before. And so there is a huge accumulation of resentments and, you
yes.
know, also sometimes in arguments, when they've spoken nasty words to each other, there've been betrayals, there's been
Mm,
a bunch of things. And
mm,
they kind of cause like scars on the relationship. But
mhm,
when couples start to sit and do some of these things we're talking about, the eye gazing, the breathing
mm,
together, types of touch, worship, adoration, it does start to just like clean
mm.
away. And I've seen couples really fall in love again after
Yeah,
dates because
and we
of
can,
skill.
yes, yes, and we can also bring the element of conscious communication
Yeah.
there, and words can be used also powerfully. If there were words that hurt and created the scars, it can be opposite words, words of admiration and words of uh, yeah, adoration. That it's very important that they come in with the right vibration, that it's really truth, because you can feel when it's just said automatically or when it's vibrating the heart energy. But
Mhm.
those kind of words together with the touch or together with the gaze, they just amplify the positive imprint.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that it was the Gottman Institute who really studied
Hmm.
couples intensively, and they found
Yeah,
out that like all these negative things, we need, I think it's something like 5 times as many positive affirmations as negative, and
yeah.
that's one of the biggest
Hmm.
indications of the success of a relationship, actually. So it's just a
Right.
practice. We actually need to practice saying thank you for this, giving our gratitude,
Hmm.
affirming the positive. It's a good habit to get into, because we as human beings are quicker to point out what we're dissatisfied with,
Hmm.
not bother to speak up about the things that are going well, and that's a disaster when it comes to relating, right? We really have to
Right.
practice speaking the good
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. When I was married, I remember we had this rule of thumb. If something bad happened, like we had a big argument and there is a gap, there is separation, it was always one negative experience have to be covered with 7 positive experiences,
You
because
got it. Yeah.
the body, the nervous system remembers somehow painful experiences more than pleasure. So we have to really overlap it with a lot of beautiful experiences, and each couple will have their own different needs, and then it will be it will be transmuted, washed
Yeah.
away. Not talking that it goes under the cover and we forget about issues. Of course we face them later, but really spending beautiful intimate time together and reconnecting and having some conscious communication, heart to heart shares, that will do, that will work.
Yeah. And I think it's good to also take a little time with inward reflection and see what we can resolve on our own. I think there's not quite enough of that. Like when something feels wrong, we just blurt it out and make it, unconsciously make it the other person's fault or responsibility. And actually
Mm.
going away and journaling and meditating, reflecting on things, like 80% of it, 90% of it, you can resolve a lot of it just yourself because it's your own stuff. And then you only
Yeah.
need to resolve in the relationship what's left. And I think that also gives it a better balance.
Yeah, self-responsibility and self-accountability. That's a whole new topic.
Like,
Yes. But
that now
again,
to open up the topic of one of your specialities, which is conscious touch and tantric massage. This is something that you teach for couples, right? You teach couples how to learn the art of tantra massage. And
yes,
I think the reason I want to talk about this is because before I got into tantra, there was just sex. That was just like the only kind of thing that you did as a couple. And thank
yeah,
God for tantra, I found this whole range of intimacy aside from penetration, which was
yeah,
which was all about touch, which was also massage, like just having tantra massage and having a beautiful, sensual, and multi-orgasmic experience sometimes without even having penetration, and
yeah,
discovering that that's possible, and that can be before it can be part of our penetrative lovemaking, but it can also be a thing in and of its own. And this is one
yeah,
of your specialties. So, do you want to speak a little bit?
yes.
Massage.
This was the first stages as well for me in my tantric journey in the beginning some years ago, when I started discovering my energy body, when I started realizing that rather than my physical body, like the old paradigm of sex lovemaking would be very physical, no, penetration is very physical, but I started discovering the energy body and all the other layers of my body, and chakras, and how unlimited the potential is there. So there's so much to play with. Why to rush? And the tantric massage came later, and that was a tool that helped me to dive deeper into studying myself, studying this beautiful temple, this technology that can be used to experience different states and move the energy, mm, to connect to myself, to find out what's alive, what is hiding. So tantric massage was a beautiful tool to help me to explore all that.
Yeah, I remember John Hawkins also being my teacher, and I remember him saying if
Hmm.
sex is only physical, there will always be this desire to connect, and we'll penetrate away, but we'll never quite get there. But when we bring in the
Hmm.
body, the energy can connect and
So
merge,
satisfying.
on the physical. And so then when we
Right.
put the physical and the energy together, because, like some people listen and think, oh, does that mean the end of physical sex? Not at all. But a new dimension of physical sex can be there, where when
Yeah.
we are touching each other or making love, we're not only feeling that physical touch, but we can also start to feel the energy that's moved within it. And that can
Right.
bring more,
Everything.
yeah, everything. It can
Yeah.
bring opening of the chakras. And for those who are new, I just want to keep bringing this into language that people can understand. We've got a mix of people here, some
Hmm.
people years in tantra, but
Hmm.
some. So what we mean by saying that like chakras open and the energy body, I just want to pause a minute and define those things. So energy can sound very mysterious. Oh, I don't believe in energy. And when people say I don't believe in energy, I say, well, just take a plant and your phone, and put them together and just look at them and tell me which has more life force energy. We can see energy. We see it in the plant. We see that it's different from the phone. Also, if you take a plastic plant and a real plant and you look, you can go, oh, it looks so real, but you can see. So we can see energy. We can also, when we're looking at a bunch of restaurants or cafes that we're going to, we see kind of dull places. Then we see a place that's oh, that energy feels good to me. So everybody feels energy. It's not just a woo-woo thing. It's not just some mysterious, oh, the energy body. It's actually also, if somebody walks into a room behind you, you'll feel them. That's your energy body. So I like to normalize and ground these terminologies so that everybody realizes there's energy and you can feel it. In Tantra, we just focus in on that more, and especially on the sexual energy. If we just look at arousal, if you tune into arousal when you're getting turned on, you notice it's very energetic. And you can just use it instead of just saying I'm turned on. You can say I'm feeling sexual energy. It's just linguistics. And what you may notice, I don't want to go too much into it now, but I just want to give people a groundwork that we normally contract around that energy and resist it. So we go, because we're turning ourselves, and then men ejaculate and women climax and it's all over. But in Tantra, we learn to relax and stay present with that energy. And that way, we fill our whole bodies, which rises up through our hearts, it rises up through our minds. We have braingasm, we have heartgasm. We feel like a firework comes out of the top of our head. And so we're having full body orgasm with everything that's alive. It's like the pinnacle of Tantra. So I just framed that because you went quite far. And I know
thank you, Shashi, for that.
But then let's go back again to touch and to people who haven't done Tantra massage at all before. We're not jumping into it aiming for full body merging with the universe. That's just something that can happen. But at the beginning, it's much more about feeling embodied, right? It's about getting out of the head and into the body and learning to feel pleasure in the body and not have to resort to going into fantasies or imagination. But how do we actually access pleasure through this body and with our partner? So can you talk a little bit about massage as a ritual, massage as there's also pleasure and spiritual things, but what about healing? What is tantric healing and how can massage help us?
Right. So everything that ever happened to us, we store in our body. We store that memory, we store that energy, positive, negative experiences. And tantric massage, tantric touch, which is conscious touch, loving touch, touch without expectation or judgment, will be just a tool to investigate and face what is there. Maybe there is some energy trapped, maybe very, very old, maybe something new. And that's how we will use these tools to face them and later to transmute that energy, to release that energy. So we practice, it's a practice, like you mentioned. If we never moved our awareness from head to the body, that will be something new. So that would be a new tool to practice together with breathing techniques and with the widening your awareness, being aware of few things at the same time. All that comes with a bit of practice and time. And with the conscious touch, we just bringing awareness to something that is already there. And then we start moving the energy with breath, with specific techniques. We can move it and we can release it. We can find out what is there that wanted to be met, to be heard, to be expressed, that didn't have chance at that moment when it's stuck, or maybe what wants to be celebrated and what wants to be embraced as well. And just this kind of experiences, they already bring you to deep intimacy with your partner. To share something like that is very intimate.
Yeah. So you've talked about a couple of things here. So the first one is just the healing power of conscious touch on its own. And
Yes.
I remember when I was 20, 21 when I first got into Tantra. And I remember being touched for the first time with presence and feeling like, wow, it's not this hurry to get something out of me, but someone's actually just being
Mm-hmm.
present with the body and what's moving in it. And at the beginning,
Yeah.
my body was quite contracted and on guard because I was so used to there were boys when I was at university, like boys who were just trying to get to
Yeah.
penetration. And so my body was quite
Right.
armed, like, oh, they're all trying to get something out of me. And my body was just kind of braced. And when I had my first tantric partners, and they would just like hold my body and breathe and listen to my breathing and sounding and look in my eyes.
Mm.
Beginning, I was like, when are they going to try and get something from me? I was still
Yes.
but then I'd realize, oh, they're just present here. And my body would start to
Mm-hmm.
kind of melt and relax open and be like,
Melting. Right. Right.
this armor would fall off. And then
Mm-hmm.
this pleasure was there, this sensation. And as you're describing, again, energy,
Mm-hmm.
that's the term that I knew before then. But when I began to relax, I'd suddenly feel like waves. I describe it as waves of pleasure moving through
Mm-hmm.
my whole body that later I would come to call energy. But it would just feel like these kind of
Mm-hmm.
waves, and it would feel very natural, like, oh yes, this is it. And something
Yes.
being liberated, and it felt so good. It took my body into full body pleasure, full body expansion, full body
Mm-hmm.
relaxation, sometimes full body orgasm, many different states.
Yeah.
The state really isn't important. What's important is this process of like, I feel safe to be in my body and
Yes.
safe to feel. And with that, a deeper connection with my partner, because instead of being two separate people with him trying to get something from me, it's like we're
Mm-hmm.
together feeling
Mm-hmm.
pleasure, this energy, this connection, this union together. We're in this together. That's a whole new thing. So the art of tantric touch can take us from a separate thing of like someone trying to get something, which is a lot of the mainstream,
Mm-hmm.
into a shared experience of feeling pleasure. And this
Mm-hmm.
energy that you're speaking of, like when we feel these waves, when we're both tuned in, we can both feel it at the same time. And there's nothing more intimate than two people
Mm-hmm.
we're both feeling it. It's not my pleasure or your pleasure, it's our pleasure. And it feels like the universe is making love through both of us. And so these
Yes.
states that we get into, they only happen
Mm-hmm.
when we start with conscious touch. So a lot of people write to me saying, how do I learn tantric sex? How do I learn tantric sex? It's like, you have to learn tantric touch. You have to learn tantra massage.
Mm-hmm.
It's never going to happen by focusing on penetration. It's only going to
Mm-hmm.
happen by learning and focusing on conscious touch and allowing the healing to happen. And so the healing you were speaking
Mm-hmm.
of, you talked about blocked energies. I just know there are so many people who are new to Tantra watching, so I want to keep breaking down
Uh-huh.
these steps. But what that means is that when we start to get this healing touch, whatever was repressed, whatever was held back, can be liberated.
Starts
And sometimes
releasing.
we cry, sometimes we shake,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we're in bliss. But whatever it is, it feels good. It feels good even if we're crying for like an hour in our partner's arms. It's like, oh, it needed to come out. And we feel open and
Yeah.
free and alive afterwards and deeply, deeply connected.
Yeah. And that creates space again. Once we emptied the vehicle, once we released that energy that was creating stagnation or contraction, there is whole new space that wants to be filled with love, light, unity. So that's the transition into pleasure. That's where the next time, if there will be an energy activated, life force energy will turn into pleasure in
Yeah.
that place.
Yeah. I often say to people, like, first is a layer of numbness. Then after the numbness,
Hmm.
pain and
Pain, yeah, and then
emotions.
pleasure.
And then there can be energy, and then there's pleasure. And it's like this kind of, and that could take weeks, and that can be all in one session. You can just journey through it.
Hmm.
But I always say that,
Yes.
especially women who feel numb, they don't feel anything in their vagina, they don't have vaginal orgasms. Don't worry if you're numb. Like, behind that numbness, there's just layers. And the same for men.
Yes.
They masturbate too much with like a lot of speed, they can numb out, and then basically need a lot of stimulation to feel anything. So we
Hmm.
need to reset the whole nervous system and the whole sexual body in order to
Yeah.
have this pleasure. So
Yes.
I'm excited to be launching again your Tantra massage course for couples.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yes. It's happening on Valentine's.
Yeah, so we're going to release that on Valentine's Day. So anyone that's watching this, you've already given so many great tips that people can start on and great tools.
Mm.
And I'll make sure that everyone who signed up for this, that I send them all a copy of your beautiful ritual, so they have that
Ritual.
for Valentine's. That if
Mm-hmm.
anyone's watching this and you're like, oh, this is so what I want to explore and go deeper into, then I really want to encourage you to do Maria's amazing course, which I've also done myself
Mm.
with a partner. And
Yes.
it's one of the best filmed courses that I've
Mm.
seen. You've
Mm.
really gone all out to make it so beautiful. You filmed it in Bali, right? In some beautiful villa. It's
Yeah, in
all
different places.
beautiful and gorgeous in different places. But
Yeah.
it's designed for couples, right? Whether that's a couple that's
Mhm.
been together for 10 years or it's just two people who are exploring quite new but want to start by
Mhm.
exploring Tantra, right? And then
Yes.
just briefly, I see that we've been chatting away, but tell us briefly about like how you've divided it into the male, the female, the healing, the pleasure.
Yes, this course is not for complete beginners. You don't have to know anything about massage because it's guided step by step, very, very precisely. The videos been built in a way that it's very clear and very easy to grasp, and we have theories and then we have demonstration videos, and I take you by your hand building from creating sacred space and experiencing with bunch of different tantric rituals to create that container of safety, adoration, and then we bring the conscious touch, and there will be different touches, there will be different models talking about different topics, there will be some philosophy around attitudes behind the touch, like a giver and receiver. There will be some anatomy just to have a basic understanding what we're touching and where. You will be surprised. Many people don't even know what is where. And then we have tantric massage that is split on two, let's say, topics, healing and pleasure. And just like we mentioned earlier, to have pleasure to uh, arise, we need to create space, and to create space we need to firstly de-armor, we need to release. So there is massage that is a healing massage that is designed for both men and women to release any accumulated energy, any memory, any armor, any numbness that can potentially block the life force. And then once all this been practiced and integrated, we are moving slowly but surely into pleasure massages. And there we will be activating life force. We will be approaching yoni, lingam, and entire body, different parts of our body, the erogenic zones, with a different attitude to activate the energy. And then we will be moving that energy. We learn how to sublimate it so we can charge our heart, our consciousness, as we spoke earlier, and experience this beautiful, deep meditative states. That's what Tantra is all about, to eventually arrive in a deep meditation, in a unity with Source, with God, to remember your divinity. So, this is the journey. It's
Yeah,
6 weeks long, and
you
you
have a
have
live
so many
coaching
tools.
call. You have a live coaching call as well, right? So like halfway
Yes,
through for everyone who joins, they can all come along and ask you questions and have a little tune
yes,
in and share if they've got
yes,
issues coming up. Yeah, that's really
yeah,
great. And a chat space as well, right? So people can add questions as they're going through it. So you're available for 6 weeks for them.
yes, I am.
And something I really love about this course is I love that the way you set it up, you can repeat each practice as many times as you want. So like, for example, the
Yes.
healing massage, I did that several times and every time was kind
Mhm.
of different. Like sometimes there'd be pain coming out, sometimes tears, and sometimes deep
Yeah,
relaxation. So it's really great that you've set it up that they don't just do each massage once, but couples can actually keep repeating because some carry more trauma than others. And so you might want to really keep repeating it to keep healing before you move on to the pleasure part. So I love that you've done that,
absolutely.
that
Hmm.
it's real. And then, also you've set it up that there's audio versions. And I love this because
Hmm.
when the video is on at the beginning with my partner, we're kind of like massaging, but we're like looking at the video. But we we suddenly were like, actually, let's just sit and watch the video. So we've got it. And then we have your audio version. So we can just press play. And then instead of looking at a screen, we're doing the massage on each other and really focusing on each other. So it's really fantastic the way that you've set it up. I think it's,
Yes.
yeah, it's amazing.
Everything done for you to experience it to its full potential, and the audio is done in a live timing, so each massage is 2 hours, some of them almost 3 hour long, because that's how long we take in tantra to actually really dig deep.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I love
you
that
have your long practices.
you've got some rituals and meditations that can be like 5-10 minutes when on busy days, but then as a couple you really want to have, you don't want to start at 10 p.m. after everything else. You want to start at 6 p.m. You want to have an early dinner and have a whole evening. Or I love Sunday mornings. I mean, that's kind of now for me, but on other days I love Sunday morning sensualities, where after breakfast you have the whole morning dedicated to pleasure. So that can
Right.
also really nice time. But it's about prioritizing, right? And not leaving pleasure to an afterthought at the end of everything else.
Yeah, and once you have all those tools, you have the bag of tools, then you can start building them together, matching to your time and your need. Then you
Yeah.
can play with it, and like you said, you can come back to these practices again and again, even year later, because somehow we do release, but we also accumulate new energy. Something happens, some crisis. I don't know. Hopefully not, but maybe some crisis in relationship, and again some contraction and heart closed down or yoni closed down. So year later, 2 year later, you can again start practicing from scratch, and every single time I say it's a shamanic field, because the every single time under consecration, which is the pillar practice in tantra, you open the field, you call in help from divine, and every single time is a unique alive moment that will never be duplicated again. Present
Yeah,
moment is just one.
it's just so
Yeah.
alive. So a question here, is the course all video presentations? How many videos? Can you do it on your own leisure? It's good to do it along the 6 weeks together, just energetically. We create an energy field that spans across the planet, and there are many people doing it together, and Maria's there to answer questions. So I recommend that if you get it now, you actually go for it for 6 weeks while you're in the energy field, and at the same time you have your own time to continue it. So you could do
Right.
the 6 weeks and then you can revisit things. But and then you've got the live coaching call. So I just know too many people who've bought online courses and never do them. I mean, I'm one of those. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, it's
Me too.
lifetime. Buy something
Yeah.
and I do it later. I like the ones that are semi-live like this, because there's a set date, we're holding the field, there's a bunch of couples and people all over the planet practicing, and it makes it more powerful. So we really want to invite you to join us on this, because even I
Yeah.
get like, oh, I'm too busy, but when your courses come around, Maria, I'm like, great, I'm going to do the tantra massage. So I join in too, and it's like, this is my excuse to dedicate more time to tantric massage. So I'd love to invite you to join in with us and do that as well.
Yeah.
But you have your own time. Is it all video presentations? There's a lot of video, but there are also some audios, like we said, so you can pick the way to do it.
Yeah, and there are shorter options of practices with the demonstrating videos, and there are longer with audios. So you have your choice if you have half an hour today, or if you have 3 hours that you're happy to dedicate the practice. It's up to you.
Yeah, yeah. I've got a couple of questions we didn't manage to get to this, but I'm going to quickly answer them, which is, what about challenges of age-related stresses, performance, and also disability? I could go a lot into those, but we have got. But I just want to say that I've been working with someone who's fully disabled and has been for like all of his life, wired up to machines and incredibly disabled, and yet is having full body energy orgasms. And he
Wow.
actually wanted to make a film about how Tantra can bring more options to those who have physical limitations. And that's
Yeah.
because, the energy, it doesn't
Then
have limitation.
the life. Yeah.
And I also
Wow.
knew one of my graduates, she was together with a man with ALS. He could only move his eyes. Nothing else moved. nothing else could be moved by his conscious will, but he would go into erection spontaneously, and they would make love and have full body energy orgasms, and he
Mm.
would move a single muscle. So, age is not a restriction.
Mm.
Physical limitation is not a restriction. Body shape, size, like I said before, like it's
Mm.
the beautiful thing about Tantra is it's not
Yeah.
superficial. It's our soul energy, our life force energy, and it can flow through us, whatever state we're in, and it will heal us as well. It's a very healing energy. So it's a
Yes.
beautiful thing to get into, whether you're experiencing aging or physical limitations, because you'll discover the limitlessness of the energy body.
Mm. And sometimes, most of the times, less is more, actually. Did you notice how much energy builds up when we are in stillness, when we contain in our energy rather than spilling it all around?
Yeah.
So you start discovering completely new dimensions.
Like when
Yeah.
you're being worshipped, like sometimes you're just sitting back naked and your partner's gazing at your yoni and put flowers and offerings, and you get so orgasmic and you're not even being touched. So yeah, there's
Right.
a lot to
Yeah. That's
explore.
my favorite. It's my favorite, actually. Everything even before touch.
For my film Sex to Spirit, which is coming out soon. But I remember filming a
Hmm.
scene where a man is just looking at this woman's yoni. He's holding her knees and just gazing, and her body starts rippling into orgasm. And I thought the world needs to see this. We have so much porn,
Hmm.
so much going on, and they're getting more extreme and more violent and more hardcore. Actually, less is more. Let's get back to the
Less is
essentials.
more. Hmm.
Let's
Yes.
just pleasure potential that's there, and we don't need to push or force anything. We're
Hmm.
just relaxing and expanding into our true pleasurable nature, and that's what I
Yeah.
wish for everybody.
Yeah. Creating conditions for pleasure to arise.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes, maybe so. Well, we have chatted
Mm.
right over, because we can always talk a lot about these topics. And I feel like we've only just begun. There's more we could do, but I really want to honor people's time. So I want to say
Hmm.
thank you to everyone who's here today. More countries have popped up:
Hmm.
Northern Ireland, Netherlands, India, Istanbul, Canada. Amazing. Ibiza, Texas, all these places around the world. It's wonderful that we can gather and talk about these topics. I will
Hmm.
send a follow-up email with a free video from Maria for a ritual you can do on Valentine's Day, and a link and a coupon with a special discount if you want to join her massage training as well.
Yes.
And I just want to wish you all so much pleasure and healing, and
Mm.
have a beautiful love-filled Valentine's, whether you're choosing to self-love or share love with another. And thank you so
Mm.
much, Maria, for all of your time and your wisdom. It's always a joy to speak to you.
Thank you,
So thank
Shashi, so much for this beautiful conversation, heart-to-heart, empathic conversation, as you said. I love talking to you. It always brings up so much for everyone. I'm wishing
you.
everybody a very beautiful Valentine, and might remember that every day is the day to celebrate love, intimacy, and connection. And my all the tools that are there for us available just support us on this journey back home to come back to the remembrance of our own divinity and recognizing divinity in our partner in front of us too.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day.